evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister, doing well. How are you today, this Sunday, the ninth day of the month of June?
I am blessed and highly favored as we are always, and as you can see, I'm in the pajama edition tonight, honey, because I was gonna do this episode from my bed because I've been chilling this weekend. You hear me? Chilling.
Well, great. No one had to know those were your pajamas, but sure.
I have many pairs and sets and whatever. I just want to let people know. Listen, sometimes you just gotta relax and reset and rest. And I will say, I was going through our social, all the photos and the grams, and I was like, oh, 1 week ago we were boarding at Tropic Air with our silver boarding pass that looks
The
like
bookmark.
a bookmark placard, and we were getting on our plane to head back to Belize City and make our way back to these United States. I don't know. How you feeling since we've been back 1 week after?
Well, it's one of those things where all good things must come to an end. I think that we had a lovely excursion. We got to see some very, very blue water and experience swimming in the ocean and just literally being one with nature in a lot of ways. And so, it was hot, it was humid, but it was good for the soul, good for the mind, good for the body. And I think it's a reminder that not only do we need to do these things more often, we've earned the right to, as you said, rest, relax, reset, all of the things. And and we're going to get into some deeper conversation, but our ancestors went through a lot. They went through a lot of hardships, and don't get me wrong, much work still needs to be done. But I don't think there's any shame in our game for saying sometimes we get tired and we need a break, and that's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had many people reach out and was like, "How was Belize?" And people been asking and inquiring. I think you have as well.
Mhm.
So we flew into Belize City. So Belize was a part of Honduras. So it is a country in Central America, but off of the Belize that is landlocked, that land portion, there are islands that's off of Belize as well. So we flew into Belize City and from there flew over to the island of San Pedro. Um, Now we could have took a ferry over, but I will tell you, honey, let me tell y'all about Tropic Air. See, this is the thing I want y'all to understand. See, we told y'all when we came back from South Africa about Safair. These Safairs and Tropic Airs, they know how to get people on and off the plane. Now, Tropic Air ain't nothing but a little Cessna, little small thing. Now, we had to be ducked down like this to get on there. But don't worry about that. And somebody had to sit next to the pilot. But don't worry about that. I just want to know how they systems and processes. So we arrived and we were supposed to get on 12:30, I think, was our
Yeah.
flight time. We got in, they were like, we gonna send you at 11. We like said, what? Because we landed, got our bags, went back through, go through immigration, go through customs, come on out and recheck our bags, and we go up to the desk. They were like, "What time you want to leave? You can leave. You gonna leave? We gonna send you on this next flight." Boop, 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 boop. We said, "What? Okay." And then they they stapled the little pieces of paper that they had wrote on it with a pencil and handed that to us. And they were like, "Okay." So as soon as we walk up to the gate area, the gentleman was like, "Oh, how you doing? What's your name?" Okay, ma'am. Y'all can go get something to eat over there. Y'all gonna be on this next flight. Oh, okay. We good. And we like, my sister was like, ain't no way our luggage gotta be on another plane. Because our luggage on this plane. Because on this plane don't look like. But what
Well, then let's be clear. It seated about 10 of us,
yes.
and it didn't look like there was no hatchback. So I was like, where we putting luggage? But they
But
did
all
put
the
it.
luggage fit.
All the luggage fit.
All the luggage arrived in a timely manner.
It was on the plane with us. Yes.
All of everything arrived and was in a timely manner, and it was boarding efficiently, leaving efficiently. We have your reservation. We got the next plane that's going. We just gonna move you up and move you out, and that's how they did everyone. And it was like, now how we get this efficient? How we get this efficient when our American carriers are doing all this foolishness? It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me.
I won't say it's amazing. I think that we overcomplicate things sometimes. I
Yeah.
mean, we know that these systems work in other places, but we are sometimes hell bent on believing that the way we do things is the only way, the best way, the right way. And it's like there are other ways of doing things. Like, again, there was a time, even in the United States, where you boarded from the back of the plane. Like, you just started at the higher numbers and you worked your way up, and it made sense so that people then wouldn't be compelled to put their luggage over seat number 18 and they in 36. Like,
Right.
it just kind of made sense. And now it doesn't.
But
And
that's the thing. An American airline flew into Belize City and landed. And they were like, y'all are going to deplane from the back and the front. So if you enrolls this to this, you leaving out this front door. If you enrolls this to this, you leaving out the back door. So there ain't nobody jumping up, trying to bogart their way down the aisle. It was like, if you this to this, you going out this door, this to this, you going out that door, everybody getting off the plane. And it's just moved. It's just smooth and efficient.
yes.
But when we go back to American Airlines in Miami, it ain't like that. The deplaning process is not like that.
Oh gosh, don't even talk about is it a TSA pre, not a pre? Okay, well, why is he holding the sign? Nope, not pre, but now you're opening another area. Okay. Why wouldn't you have a TSA pre coming back into the United States to reboard on your next flight when not, like, it's so backed up and you want everybody to take off shoes and pull out laptops? Yeah, that was not. But then again, at that point, it's like,
we back.
How y'all do?
Because we back. Let's talk about why. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, obviously we didn't come live to you last Sunday, but 2 weeks ago we were talking about summertime, getting ready for summer, getting ready for summer travels, and giving you some summer travel tips. And all the tips we gave you were
on full
ignored.
Well, right? Yes, correct. The tips were ignored.
The tips we provided. So we trying to help the people. So y'all, please make sure y'all like this. Make sure you share it. Make sure you send these videos to a friend. Because clearly, if they had listened to the tips, it wouldn't have been all the foolery that we observed in our travels. So don't be a terrible American.
Right.
Just don't be a terrible American. So here we go, leaving the airport. In the little airport. Why are you gonna walk up? You see everybody is screening their bag. Why are you gonna walk up? Do we have to go into this line? Did you see everybody else going through the line? Well, you remember her. You remember her.
Which one? I'm trying to remember because there was
that was when we were going for the custom. Like she wanted to go up and like, oh, do I have to? Yeah, you got to do. Yes, you have to.
Oh yes. I do remember now. Yes,
they got a line here and a line here. Why you want to try to walk up and see what you could do? Don't do that.
Right.
You all got to take off my shoes or I'm TSA pre-check.
Okay, so give some context. So we are still in Belize. So this particular gentleman who
With the,
is, uh, you know, anyway, he was traveling with his family.
they were the talls. They were tall people.
They
They
were
was like
very
this
tall
big
people.
volleyball or something, basketball something.
Yes. And so I had already, there were two TSA lines.
Not TSA.
I'm sorry, not two TSA. Excuse me. There are two
Security.
screening lines.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is this one open? Because nobody was in that one. And the brother just was like, got it. Cool. So then another man was like, you got to take off your shoes, da da da. And I just started singing the song like, take off your shoes, pull out your computer, whatever. And so then they were laughing at me for singing my song, right? Then I felt like we had already covered all that. So then here the talls come, and there's a tall person. I'm calling them the talls. And it's like, oh, do I have to take off my shoes? Like, you just heard me sing the Take Off Your Shoes song. And you're going to ask, first you want to get in the line that I just asked, and the brother said,
the brother said, this line closed. And this is the beauty of us. The brother didn't even have to open his mouth and speak words to you. Because when you went up there and you were like, oh, is this line open? He just was like this. So you knew right then and there, oh, this line closed, only this one open right now. So I'm just going to carry my little happy ass right over here.
Right. You and in Belize still. So I'm singing songs, and here come this guy. He want to know if it's open first, then do he got to take off his shoes because he TSA pre. And again, let's just be clear. TSA is a United States agency. I believe it is a part of the Homeland Security. That homeland is the United States of America. It is not every home that somebody has, and it ain't every piece of land. As you said, TSA is also a U.S. term. The Transportation and Security Administration, I believe it is. All these things, so no one cares. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have clear. There is no sign that said clear. I was clear.
Yeah.
Just kind of how it is.
Don't be a terrible American.
And Miss Jody, hey Miss Jody, it sounds like amateurs traveling. I don't think that's
they weren't amateurs.
Mm-mm. It's caucasity traveling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we saw lots of caucasity, so we'll talk more about that.
So much on full display.
What was your favorite? What was your favorite part?
So what are y'all doing? Why are you here?
Wait, it went out a little bit. Say it again.
I said we at a damn resort with you. That's what we doing here. We in the same hotel you in. What we doing here? We doing the same thing. If we had $1 for every time we would ask that question among all the women. So let's just give you context. We were going for our second Xavier University of Louisiana girls trip. Shout out to XU. Shout out to World Travels LLC, Shanita Outland, for being our travel agent extraordinaire and pulling it all together, because we can be a lot, but we did it. But the inquiry, when you see us starting to arrive en masse, the inquiries.
So it's about 40 Black women.
Mm-hmm. A little over 40, yeah.
41, 42, something like that. Black women. And of course, I guess they rule out a singing group. Maybe they think you're a choir. I don't know. But it's like, why are all you Blacks together in one place? And let me add, there were a lot of Black Americans in Belize So we've since learned that it's currently a very hot spot
Mhm.
for young Afro Americans traveling. So yeah, there's always that what's going on, and implies in a video about this a few it's been over a year now, like when you see a group of black women out, they celebrating or they on vacation, they dressed to the nines, they eating at a restaurant. Don't ask them why they're here. Don't ask them what they're doing. They celebrating life. Like, or what are y'all celebrating? He was like, life. And that has become my standard answer for a lot of things. Life. One of our friends was asked, where are y'all from? Now, in general, that could be an innocuous question, but after you've heard it a few times, it's like, America, where are you from?
Yeah. Right.
It just starts to feel like, where do you think we're from?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I don't know if you're asking countrywide or statewide or, and then if we just said what the truth, like all over, well, you still don't have any more information than you had before.
Mm-mm.
I think my favorite was the amazement. Now, I didn't have my shirt on. First of all, let me publicly shout out our production assistant, whose place I took on the trip. Thank you very much. It was wonderful. I appreciate you. There were shirts that everybody had. Many people wore them on the travel day back. And there was just general amazement.
There was a lot of, oh my God. We should have gotten shirts because all we got were these hats. What?
It's like general amazement that you all could come together and find a screen printer. I don't know. Maybe they were surprised. Maybe someone owns a Cricut. I don't know. But it's like, it's not that hard to get shirts printed on masks. It's just not. But amazing. But I think our very favorites, don't be a terrible American moment, had to come when we landed back in the United States. We were traveling with a friend who happened to be on the same flights as us. And again, those two, not me, those two had on their Belize trip shirt. So she was approached by a white woman who I didn't hear. I thought she asked, like, was she coming from Belize or was she going to Belize? The point was she asked, was she from Belize? And it was kind of like, no, I guess that was the general response. And so the lady's like, oh, because I have all this Belizean cash that I want to give away and I have no one to give it to, right? And it kind of was like, okay, so on the surface, again, maybe it's innocuous. Maybe she just thought, let me ask a black woman, a person with brown skin, if they're from Belize. The challenge was we had just gotten off of a flight and we were in the U.S. customs area, and so that means we were U.S. passport holders.
Because when you fly into a country, or you fly to any country, but flying back into the United States, you go to, if you are a U.S. passport holder, you go to this side. If you are a visitor, you go to this side. And we all were in the U.S. passport holder side.
And we all were picking up our luggage that had just been transported from Belize back in the United States, that you have to now go and check again because it has to be re-examined and all of those things.
Take them flight.
So it was just very interesting. And
well, the fact that she, to me, it was what was kind of like head scratching, and like, she got a shirt on that say "Girls Trip Belize," so that was just a sign and an indication that she had just gone on a trip to and was returning back to the United States. Plus, she's in the U.S. passport holder side gathering her things. So to then be asked, are you from Belize? No, I ain't from Belize. Oh, because I have all this Belizean money I want. Uh, what?
And as my sister pointed out, there are more, especially in Miami. Miami is obviously an international airport, but Miami, well, let me tell you about their TSA. They are very much, I hope that TSA gets this message. I hope in Miami specifically, everybody's hip to the discrimination, right? Everybody's hip to the racial profiling.
Yeah.
Stop it with the random checks. Stop it. There have literally been case studies, and I've been out of graduate school for nearly 20 years now and did a case study then on the number of complaints through Miami specifically by Black women because they're constantly stopped in TSA, especially if they have braids or locks, things of that nature, because you all are so egregious with your racial profiling. So just please stop it. But as my sister pointed out, this is an international airport. So there are currency exchanges all over the place. And also in the city. So like if sis had a whole lot of cash that she wanted to get rid of, she could have just exchanged it for some.
She could have just walked her little happy self to the exchange place in the airport and turned that Belizean over and got her US dollars. She could have did that.
Yep.
Instead of approaching a random Black woman who she don't even know and ask her, is she from Belize?
Well, she thought that she was doing the godly thing, perhaps.
Okay, whatever you say, sister. I don't know. I just know that, and we've observed it in many places. And even when we were in South Africa a year ago, they talked about us Americans, the way we dress, the way we show up and present. Like they know when we're Americans. And so many of the things that we observe, it just really, it's head scratching. It's perplexing. But then the other thing is, don't be all in our business. So first of so let me just say this. I'm gonna take this down for listen. We have reserved the cabana and the dugout. And we had who did we have that day serving us? But we like, come on, bring
Was it Kevin or
it wasn't Kevin that brought the extra umbrella. What was his name? I can't
remember.
Come on, set up our little dugout around the pool. So we had our little seat there, bring us our extra umbrella. We setting up. So here someone wants to float over to the side. And I was like, excuse me, all of this is reserved. Just letting you know. Okay. Don't try to get your happy behind and hop on over in here. So then I had to text my girl, send out the bat call, like Birdman. Okay, and they got the call and they were like, ain't nothing but a word, we coming. As soon as they started coming down and those 5 people approached, they scattered. So we in there having us a good time. And we all knew we had things and libations that we had in our rooms that we needed to use. So someone brought those down. Here's somebody else go. Oh, look, they have it. Why you up in what we doing over here about what we'd have in our room and what we have brought to our reserved area? Just stay out of people's business. Let them live free and let them enjoy and let them be happy. It's just so much interest.
But I realized, so when you all dropped me off at the airport and I was coming back, I was walking up to TSA pre. I'm still amazed at the number of people who don't know if they have TSA pre, or maybe they figure they're going to roll the dice when they get up there. I don't know. But this late, the like 2 folks in front of me, like the same thing. It was like, oh, I don't have it. Yeah, this your line over here. Or they had it was clear. I'm sorry. Who don't know that they have clear? So it's like you TSA pre, but you're not clear. So you got to go over there and, whatever. And it would happen to both. And so it just so happens like this other white lady was in line going through it. And she's like, it's so worth it. You should get it. And I was just like, see, that's the difference. I don't care. That lady got kicked out and got to go over there. I'm not gonna tell her it's worth it. It's worth it for me, but it ain't my business. She's good.
She making her life choices. Let her live.
Yes, and I made mine, but she might not travel that much, so she might not. But I'm like, I heard this exact exchange that you heard, but what compelled you? Like, what rose up in your body to say you should get it? It's so worth it. Like, why was that your business? So I just think it's an innate thing. It has become an innate thing. Where similarly, it's an innate thing for us to just mind our business, drink our water, and mind our business. Like that's also innate.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Anyway, I just want to say if you're looking for a beautiful country to travel to that's not super far, they speak English, the exchange rate is a good exchange rate, and they will take US dollars. You don't even have to exchange money because you can give them US dollars and go back and forth and handle your business that way. Belize is a country that you definitely want to visit. Most definitely.
Yes.
So I say that to everybody. Now let's talk about some of this foolery.
Okay, let's go.
Get into these hot topics. Hot topics. Sister.
Yes.
Okay. Now, all of y'all TikTokers, I haven't even got to the tick or the top. But all of y'all TikTokers out there didn't tell us nothing about these dances and these dancers and how it's a whole cult. A whole cult.
Now, we talked about this before we left. I think we talked about it very briefly because we
talked about it on the trip because our travel partner was saying she was watching it and she stayed up watching it one night.
And maybe so. Okay, I thought we mentioned it, and it was something we both want. Okay, carry on.
So
it is. Your daughter mentioned it before we left.
Maybe. So anyway, it is it's a program, it's on Netflix, it's called Dancing for the Devil, and it's about this church, 7M Shekinah, whatever name, it has both names. Shekinah is the name of the church. 7M is the name of the management company that they started to manage all of these dancers. It's 3 parts or is it 4 parts? It's 3 parts. So many of these dancers from TikTok to So You Think You Can Dance and all of these shows that we see kind of got sucked into this this cult. And there's alleged abuse. Obviously, whenever people get into these things, they get separated from their family and their loved ones, and they have this new family. So it's very, very disturbing because I guess things start to unravel when a family they went on the platform to start talking about their daughter because both daughters used to dance together on the platform. And then one got sucked in and the other one did not.
Yeah. So the full name is Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult. And it's interesting because what happened is because, in my mind, I'm still like, how do you get sucked into a cult off of TikTok? Basically what happened is, dancers are performing, they see each other, one person sent a message to someone else. Then that's kind of where it started. Hey, it starts off like, we can dance, let's do some content together, da da da. Then it's like, well, come with me to church kind of thing. And
Or
then,
let's get this content house kind
or
of
yes,
thing.
yeah. So, well, come with me to church. The church, the minister, his name is Robert Shin. He's like, well, we have, the cost of living in Los Angeles is quite expensive. You're coming out there, you don't have a lot of money, and you're trying to make connections, you're trying to get into this industry. Hey, let's build a content house. We have houses already. I already have a house. You all can all move into this house. You can build content. I can help you with your lighting, make it more professional, da da da. And then so now I have a house full of these dancers who are building content. Now they're
Getting all their views.
followership is growing. So then it's like, okay, you know what? Let me just create a management company to manage you and then help you get even bigger opportunities. So one of the dances, and I remember the commercial, he had a Charmin commercial and he had a Toyota commercial. I really remember the Toyota commercial. And so they're getting, and then there was a group that was on World of Dance. And so now they're getting greater exposure and all these things, but their life has been confined to just making content and going to church. And if you're not at church and doing church stuff, then you need to be making content or going on auditions. And then the money, girl, that math did not math to
It
me.
didn't math at all.
It's like, so you still got to pay rent, but
1 + 2 was equaling 0.
right. Right.
But
So
it
they have
did.
to still pay rent at this content house, but it's a house and it's a lot less expensive than, rent would be in Los Angeles for a 1-bedroom apartment. So it's like, okay, so now you're paying rent, but that goes to the church because the church owns the house. And then you got to pay the management fee because you're part of the management company. And that's a 20% management fee, which 20% is pretty standard. But again, the management company is owned by the church. And then because you want to be a good Christian, you have to tithe 10%. And then because you got to love, and so apparently this guy has, and listen, let me tell y'all something. I ain't about to hate on nobody, but listen, this guy wasn't that charismatic for me. His sermons, I mean, I don't know what he was saying, but what they showed, ain't nothing about it would have made me say, amen, hallelujah. That's what I'm talking about. No. Like we said, there's the brother, I don't know his name. He plays on Dear White People. And he actually had to end up rescuing one of his friends from this place. And as you noted, he's a brother. The young lady is Korean. So the church kind of started as a church for Korean immigrants.
Mhm.
And then it grew because this pastor wants to be in entertainment. And his children wouldn't hitting it out the ballpark. One tried to act, one tried to sing, they wouldn't get nowhere. So he was like, hey, he found the niche with these dancers. So that's how he was also going to come up and become famous and wealthier and all this stuff. But it kind of felt like, yeah, in a lot of ways, he was parodying Black ministers.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it ain't hitting on nothing for me. And for the brother, obviously, it wasn't hitting on nothing for him either. He was like, nah, that's okay. I'm cool. I don't need to be a part of this church.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly it hit for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so they out there giving 80% of their little money straight to this church because I ain't even feel it. Because then he got a man of God fee because he the man of God.
Yeah, they got a fee for the man of God, child, and he is the man of God.
Right. And then his wife is the woman of God, but then we find out that he over here sleeping with all these other folks. I said, but so the young lady whose family started all this, she recently, because it's been on the platform, it's number one, she put out a statement saying it was one-sided and whatever. Well, of course it's one-sided. If documentarians reach out to you and ask you for your opinion, and you and your husband and the minister of the church and nobody in that family, if y'all all decline comment, then what other side are they gonna have?
Hmm.
That's how this works.
Yeah. And even when her with her family, like they like, oh, if you're gonna ask these questions, we're not gonna come, we're gonna do. So the parents of her parents and then the young man's parents, they're like just trying to take as little whatever little contact that they can have with their
With the
child and
children, yeah.
that. But again, it's like if you have a different side, share your story.
Share your story, or since he's got a production company and he clearly got all y'all money, y'all can make y'all own documentary. Like, I don't know why people feel like if you feel so strongly that your story, the story was misrepresented, make your own. It's not against the rules.
No.
So, but anyway, y'all watch that, check that out. Let us know what you think. I'm still trying to figure out again how you fall into it, but I guess I don't want to know. That's okay. I don't want to be in the cult
Well,
at all.
I think we know, and we can see from that, from other documentaries and shows we've seen about cults, from other things that we've watched, even about this political cycle and the conversations and questions we ask about people, how they can be so easily sucked in and seduced. And I think part of it is when you surrender your own judgment, when you surrender your own thinking, when you surrender your own critique, right? Because someone's telling you this is the way or you have to do this. When you kind of suspend reality and surrender all of that, it's easy to get sucked in because I don't have to think, I don't have to have any responsibility. I'm just going to allow this person to shepherd me through life. um and for some people, that's easier to do because they don't want to have the responsibility and the accountability for their decisions, for their choices, for even some of their mistakes and mishaps along the way. You and we see it. We see it every day. I mean, in this political landscape, why do people parrot stuff that they know, even with one question, the whole thing falls apart? Like if you ask one objective question, the whole argument idea will just fall apart. And people choose not to because if I ask that question, then I might be led to another question, which means that I'm going to have an upheaval of like my whole belief system. And I'm afraid to do that because then what does that say about me?
Right. Well,
That's what I
and
think.
let's be clear. So that one thing that we can say seriously is that a lot of those people were seeking something because they had
Yeah.
been through a lot of traumatic situations, and so they were looking for something to provide them with comfort, to provide them with
Oh,
guidance, to hope, all those things. And I think that's the thing about like pedophiles that groom.
mhm.
They see your weakness or they see where you are broken and they exploit that, and that's feels like what happened here. But
And that's even what's happening, as I said, in the political sphere. Because instead of taking ownership and responsibility and accountability for your station in life, it's easier if someone tells you it's not your fault, it's their fault. It's
yeah.
not your fault, it's their fault. It's not your fault, it's their fault. It's not your fault, it's their fault. Whoever they may be. And then you're like, oh yeah, every they, every other is their fault. And I don't have to take accountability, responsibility for my own station in life, that I am undereducated, poorly educated, that I have settled for this position, that I am being fleeced by the 1%. Because a lot of people, they're making these arguments. And I know I'm connecting a lot of dots here, so it might, but just follow me. So we've been talking about the economy, and inflation, and how bad things are, right?
Mhm.
We all learned about supply and demand and whatever. So now all of the companies, they talked about with fast food, everybody is having a deal now. Everybody's coming out with these deals, right? To meet what people want, right? Because people have been complaining about how expensive the fast food is.
Mhm.
So what that tells you, because I told you the other day, Chipotle stock was at $3,000, y'all. Chipotle.
What's up right now? Because I was supposed to.
Chipotle stock was at $3,000 a share. Okay, last week. So what I'm saying, and they split. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
well, what I'm saying is, so it's easy to blame inflation. Oh, it's inflation, 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 but never looking at all of these corporations are making gigantic profits and have not passed anything down back to their consumer. That they took advantage of the rescue deals and the rescue plans and everything out of the pandemic to pad their bottom line, to get out of, keep them from going into economic harm. They pay their CEOs. Because my thing is, if you can cut the price on everything now, then it wasn't truly inflation that caused the price to go up.
It was great.
Because you're not going to cut it so you don't make money. You're cutting it back to a level so you can still remain profitable. And so, it's again, you pick up a talking point and a line from the news or from whatever's being fed to you about inflation, but then when you go and see Chipotle stock was valued more than Apple or Google or anything else.
Well, on May 10th, apparently, Chipotle hit a high of $3,260 per share.
Now,
And
burritos ain't that burritos and burrito bowls.
and less than a year ago, so that was on May 10th. So October 13th, 2023. So how much is that? What, 5 months, 6 months? What is
Yes,
that?
5.
Well,
November,
no,
December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months.
7 months. So that it was $1,768.64 on October 13th. And on May 10th, it was $3,260. Child, ain't nobody told me nothing. I went and listen, when I was in Portland, I was like, you know what? I haven't eaten in a while. I haven't eaten in Chipotle. Let me go to Chipotle. Got me a little Chipotle. Remember why I hadn't probably eaten one in a long time? Because the people ain't really, they starting to let Chipotle, look like anything these days. Y'all ain't wiping up. It ain't feeling like y'all cleaning up the areas fast enough like y'all needed to.
But you see what I'm saying? So the dots I'm connecting is people will pick up on something to make them feel good. Like you said, they're seeking hope. They're seeking something to make them feel good about themselves, their station in life. They're seeking, as you said. So people are seeking. And then you find something to blame, right? And they found something to blame. Yeah. And that's how people get sucked into cults. And that's how they get sucked into these political factions and chasms. And that's why we are in a position where we're in, where there's a whole political party who is parroting straight up lies because it suits and serves an agenda.
Yeah, so let's go on ahead and then tie this to y'all's congressman. Go ahead.
Congressman.
He's from your state. Go ahead, tell us about more.
Look, he up from the Panhandle area. Him and Matt Gaetz not too far from each other.
Fine, it's still Florida, South.
But his name is Byron Donalds. I'd have to look up his congressional district. But he made some statements about Jim Crow and Black families being better off in Jim Crow era. And he said it at this event titled, so this is how we know who they're targeting. It's titled Congress, Cognac, and Cigars.
So let me just be fair that Mr. Donalds said, quote, you see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then um, H.E.W. Lyndon Johnson, you go down that road, and now we are where we are, he said, a reference to what was then the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Okay, so I just want to be fair, because better, right? He argued with Al Sharpton that he did not say that it was better.
Mm-hmm.
But what you said, sir, was irresponsible. Plain and simple. It was reckless. And I would like us to stop dipping and dabbing. So yes, if you ask me, were more Black families together? Well, it depends on how you define together. There were also, at that time, we probably had more multi-generational homes. Yes, I would definitely say that. But all of that wasn't necessarily by virtue of choice, which is why it was so irresponsible for him to make the comment in the first place, because clearly during Jim Crow, as you said, his marriage could not have existed. During Jim Crow, he would not have been the congressman from the 19th, Florida's 19th congressional district. It says his district includes much of Southwest Florida. So,
oh no, he ain't from the Panhandle. He down there from like Sarasota, Fort Myers, Bradenton, and all of that. Yeah. Okay.
And so it was also just irresponsible to make the comment, because yes, Black people have voted conservatively, but by making that statement, you are in effect just dismissing history. And that's where it gets on my nerves, right? Like, it is not, I'm not delusional about these titles. Today it's called Republican. In yesteryear, Frederick Douglass, yes, was a Republican. Why? Because the political climate wasn't what it is today. Because there was a lot of other factors associated with why Frederick Douglass was a Republican then. There were Democrats, and there are Democrats today. They wouldn't, the party of today didn't look like the party of pick a former planter or share, a plantation owner. I don't know. And so it's just very disingenuous. It's like I'm gonna find the billionaire.
But I want to hip you to this. So see, this is the thing that get me. So I
Okay.
dropped this article in here.
Okay.
Because see, Byron is originally from Brooklyn. Byron had some charges on him.
Okay.
He had a drug charge. He went through a pretrial diversion program. You know, the programs that they don't want nobody else to benefit from. They don't want no teenagers or young adults to benefit from. Went through a pretrial diversion program. And then he had another kiting checks, bribery, or some kind of thing. He had some other charge on him too. He went through 2 pretrial diversion programs. Judges took sympathy on his ass twice to even allow him to be in the position where he is right now. But he want to tell the people in DC they got to be tougher on the youth and tougher on crime. He's a crime. He's one of those, we got to be tough on crime. We got to be tough on no crime, but we got a convicted felon now and a convicted person for libel and for defamation running for president. But we got to be tough on crime. I need y'all to make this make sense to me every day, all day of the week, because none of it makes sense to me. Right. But he's parroting their talking points about the Black family and what the Black family is. And I'm like, what Black family you talking about? Because You not even talking about the black family you came from, because the black family you came from benefited from some democratic leaning programs, but now you won't talk about this.
But then, and also, again, the fact
And
that,
you're married to a white woman.
but then also the fact that the event again was called Congress Cognac and Cigars. You know, it's like, how do you not see the insult? You see it. And so I want to just say, I've been listening to Clay Kane's The Grift, and I encourage everybody to listen to it. He really does take you back through history, starting sort of with Frederick Douglass and his relationship with Abe Lincoln. Some Abe was a little shisty, for real, like just not all that, but saying that, you know, this grift has been happening for a while from different characters throughout history, um, who have decided to put their personal interests ahead of what's best for their people. And that how, you know, even in today's Republican Party, today's GOP, they like to harken back to the Lincoln Republicans, but even he was like, no, it should have been back to the Frederick Douglass Republicans, because those were the Republicans who were actually fighting for franchisement, freedom, you know, all the things that we still fighting for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one, and he's named in the like, you're one of the biggest grifters, guy. So it's an insult that you don't even see, I guess, the irony of. No, maybe you do. You see why they called it that.
Well, there's a targeted campaign towards black men, and if you read or hear any, listen to any of Bell Hooks' books, you'll understand that patriarchy trumps, lack of a better word, can trump racial identity, and because it's about having that proximity to power.
Yeah.
And he wants the proximity to power and the proximity to money. But I will tell you once again, there are 435 congressional seats open that will be elected on November 5th. I don't know when the primaries are in your state. I know here they're going to be in August. Whatever you do, unseat all these fools. How about that?
Yes.
And definitely unseat them all.
Yes.
And let them go home and drink their cognac and smoke their cigar.
Yes. Amen. Hallelujah. Okay, sister, we only got a few more minutes and we got a few more things. So let's keep it rolling.
Oh, well, the last thing we want to talk about, this is another must-watch program. It's called Erased. World War II's Heroes of Color. Production assistant, go ahead and get that up, and then type that up in the comments for the folks. It is a National Geographic program. It is voiced by Idris Elba, and it talks about 4 of the largest World War II battles. So last week, it premiered, I think, last week in commemoration of D-Day. So we had the 80th anniversary of D-Day when they stormed the beaches of Normandy. And I will tell you, you know, it was very powerful watching this juxtaposed to what the news coverage is of the D-Day and those veterans who were able to travel there, because it really talks about you know, what it was: Pearl Harbor, the Battle of the Bulge, Normandy, and then one more battle. And they talked about African Americans. They talked about those people who are from the country of India, who were, because India was a part of the British Empire, and we got to remember Britain fought in the World War II as well. They were part of the Allies. That's how we got NATO and all of this stuff. And so many people. So when we go to a country like Belize and you see these people, there's all these cultures that have melded together, or even when you go to Jamaica, you see all these countries, these cultures that are melded together because of the British Empire.
Mhm.
is very interesting. So those people fought, and they were in some of these most notable battles and the things they had to do to survive. I knew of some of the, obviously we've heard of the Red Tails, but there's so many other groups of African American soldiers who, whether they were in the Navy, whether they were in the Air Force, whether they were in Army, that played significant roles. There are those who were, like I said, they were from India, part of the British Empire. They too fought, they were soldiers. And the treatment that they got from their fellow servicemen who were not Black or not of their country origin is already frustrating and sad.
Right.
But the fact that their stories are, there's an attempt to have not told their stories, is very, very sad and very, very interesting. And I would say to anybody um who is, as we are in these times that we're living in now, and thinking about freedom and democracy and what that looks like, I would say watch this documentary and then start questioning. I knew about Doris Miller because being from having lived in Austin, and that is where his native, he's from, was from Waco, Texas. I knew his story.
Mhm.
I knew his story, but I did not know that he, in the next battle, I thought he died at Pearl Harbor, but he
Right.
died in the next battle after.
Right.
Um, but also the amazing thing about it was that you hear some never before heard recordings. So you hear these people in their own voice, which
Mhm.
is so very powerful. And their family, like wives and children. It's beautifully done.
It is. It's very well done. It is. So I've watched two episodes, the Pearl Harbor one as well as the Normandy one. Like you said, looking at the news coverage and it is so conflicting because on the one hand, a lot of these men are in their 90s or
Or
in
100. Most
or
of them in their hundreds.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say in their 90s or either in their early hundreds. And so you think about 80 years ago, they were either in their late teens or early 20s. And so on the one hand, it's like, wow, they were babies and they were out there fighting in on foreign lands. Um, but then on the other hand, you're like, some of y'all were the ones though. Some of y'all were the ones who were referring to folks out of their names, and it's complicated. It's a
It's
compli
complicated.
it's a difficult feeling to hear these stories about this level of bravery. And not only did these men come back to the United States, because I'm simultaneously listening to Medgar and Merle by Joy Ann Reid. And both Medgar Evers and his brother Charles Evers served in World War II as well. And to hear them talk about coming back to the United States, having both of them had white women that they dated overseas, and knowing that they were accepted there with by those families but could not come back to the United States with those women,
Mhm.
knowing that they came back and were threatened, having had to bring guns to register to vote. And then the day they went to try to vote, the mob that was of a handful and they were able to still be registered, the registrar couldn't help them when it was the day to actually vote because the mob had grown significantly. And
Mhm.
so you hear these stories about this bravery. I mean, saving people's lives. And either they've been
And we've seen the movie Band of Brothers and Saving Private Ryan, and I think Saving Private Ryan is World War II as well.
Yeah.
Like all of these movies and shows and programs.
And to hear one of the historians say, the number of people she encounters who are like, there were no black people at Normandy. There were no black soldiers in World War II. And I think, I remember when Jesse Williams gave his speech on BET Awards many years ago, where he said, there is no battle in a war in this country that we have not fought in. And that goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Mhm.
So it's to know that these men were largely dismissed, and then to see, like you said, the news coverage, there weren't a lot of black or brown faces there.
There were a few.
I said not a lot.
There were a few, but very
Not a
few.
lot.
Yeah.
And so this is a much needed docu-series. And I'm only one voice, I'm only one person, but I think that it's past time for the military to make these things right.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it's World War II and any of the things that have followed, because I also know that women served,
Mm-hmm.
Native Americans served.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many who served, who then, I mean, who then their portion of this history has been, because then it doesn't support a narrative or a certain story about who we are as a country. And I think we need to fix it, but also not just as a country, but even globally.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'll say, going back to the grift, I threw something in there from Clay Kane's LinkedIn page, the grift, the downward spiral of Black Republicans from the party of Lincoln to the cult of Trump. He even speaks about, how even the history that we've been taught about the Civil War, as if, black fighters on the Union side, like the Union helped black people. No, they won. The Union was losing, and the Union won because black people, and they didn't just want to give black men the right to fight, but they had no choice because they were losing.
That's
And
right.
so that's where even that narrative has been misconstrued. We are, when it comes to patriotism, we are deeply embedded in every aspect of the American story. And that's why it's so extra offensive when there are those who act like they have greater ownership to this soil, to this land than we do. It's like, I'm gonna need you to read a book or find a different source of information than what you've got, because again, there's no battle that we haven't fought in. There's no institutions that we haven't been
A
a
part
part
of.
of building. And every fight that we've ever led for civil rights has greatly benefited everybody else.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. Well, honey, I ain't got nothing to say after that. That's a mic drop on that. I know this was a blackity black episode. We said it was hot topics, but this was like, listen, wake up. Don't get sucked in. Don't get fooled. Don't be terrible. Just be a good human being wherever you go, whenever you go, as you move in and out, and stand for justice and equality for all human beings. How about that? And celebrate when you see other people living their life and being happy. Celebrate. That's all.
all right, with that, we're out. Have a good night, everybody.